also known as Fiasika Wiafe. God bless you for joining us tonight. We hope that we'll all join in and learn something tonight. Last week we came your way with the part 2 of worry, and we learned a lot. And this week we want to come your way with something else that we can all relate to, which is motivation. We want to talk about motivation. So I want to read a short paragraph I have here about motivation, and then we'll take it from there. So I want to ask a question. Today, have you got out of bed yet? And if you've got out of bed, what made you get out of bed? Have you eaten yet? Have you drunk anything yet? And if so, what made you drink something or eat something? And do you have days when you will gladly not do any of these things? And what changes on those days? In fact, for today, all the things that you've done today, what made you do those things that you've done today? So tonight, these are the kind of questions we want to explore, we want to discuss, we want you to contribute, whether you are listening to us on the COP Radio Scotland, or watching us on Zoom, or watching us on Facebook. Tonight, we want to discuss motivation and what motivation is, what it looks like, how it feels. Do we even need it? We want to ask that question. Do you think we need motivation? What is it to you? So communicate, interact with us, bring your comments and your questions. You can send them to radio@copscotland.co.uk, radio@copscotland.co.uk. Or if you're on Zoom, you can leave in the chat box and we will try and get through them. Thank you very much. I'll let my co-host come in.
Hello. I think last week I went solo, but today, thank God, my able body is here with me and I'm so motivated. I am so motivated, right? So motivation is something that we all need. And sometimes when it gets to Tuesday evening, I think we need motivation to come online and present our show. So tonight, before we want to help all of us to be motivated with whatever we are doing in life, I've got some quotes here that I picked up from the internet, and I think some of them are very interesting. And I want to read some to our hearing. There are many, about 50 of them. I'm not going to read all 50, but I'll give you some that excite me, and maybe it will motivate you. You never know. Right. So the first motivational quote I have tonight. Now, today I'm like a newscaster, so I need my glasses and read. The elevator to success is out of order. You will have to use the stairs one step at a time. People say nothing is impossible, but I do nothing every day. The next one, change is not a 4-letter word, but often your reaction to it is.
Okay, that's interesting.
You get it? Change is not a 4-letter word, but your reaction to it is a 4-letter word, which is fail.
Fail, yeah. Failure to change. If you don't change, if you're not adapting, you're going to kind of fail.
Yeah. Right. The next one I think is very interesting, and we can all relate to this very well. If you think you are too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito.
Oh, brilliant. That's true.
Okay,
That's
what
very
else
true.
do I have here?
One
I hope
more.
our listeners are being motivated to listen to us tonight, because we've been too serious during this time, and I think we need a bit of a laugh. The trouble with having an open mind, of course, is that people will insist on coming along and trying to put things in it.
Yeah, that's
Did you get it?
true. Yeah, if you're
The
being open-minded
trouble,
and
yeah, people will pull you along and make you put things in it because you have an open mind.
yeah,
Great.
yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for reading those motivational quotes.
Let me give you a last one.
Okay, okay.
When tempted to fight fire with fire, remember that the fire department usually uses water. Thank you.
Wow. They don't come. They don't come with fire, do they? They come with water or something to help quench it. So you can't go
So
fight
don't
it.
fight fire with fire.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
very good.
not what the fire department will do.
No. Thank you for reading.
I have
those.
more. When people are not motivated, I'll read it.
Yeah. If we're not getting
you.
interaction tonight, then you can read a few to help motivate our listeners and viewers to engage. We're talking about motivation and what motivation is. And just before you came on, I was asking if you got out of bed today, what got you out of bed? If you've eaten today, what made you want to eat or drink? If any of the things you've done today, what made you do them? I want you to think about these things and think about what motivated you or what was your motive behind those things that you've done today. And my lovely co-host Efiasika, we have just read a couple of quotes, motivational quotes, which are very, very interesting. We'll read a couple as we go along. So if you join us tonight, if you have any question or any contribution, please send them in through Zoom or to radio@COP Scotland, and we'll try and read them as we go along. We are all here to learn, so we are not just panelists. We want you to be part of this and help us to learn from each other as we go through these difficult times we are in. So I want to ask, what is motivation? That's what I want to know tonight. And I've got a couple of pointers here. I'm sure you have your own that you can bring on board as you listen. So during my research, I found that the Cambridge Dictionary was saying that motivation is that enthusiasm for doing something. So your enthusiasm for doing something. It is also your need or your reason for doing something. So you have that need or that reason that is within you to want to do something. And most often motivation has two aspects to it. We have the objective aspect, which is the goal setting. So you set a goal to do something. That's one aspect of motivation. And then the other aspect is the internal aspect or your subjective aspect. And this aspect is what it is you that want to do that thing. Not anybody is trying to force you. It is coming from within you. You want to do it or not to do it. So it has to have a goal and it has to have that internal drive or internal kind of reason or internal need to want to do it, to get it done. And the last thing I have here is that motivation involves a biological, emotional, and psychological aspect of every day. So you have a biological reason why you are motivated. You have a psychological reason why you are motivated to do anything in your life that you're doing. Yeah.
Right. So I think as people, we are in a period in our lives where everyone needs to be motivated to wake up and face the day. And all of us will bear with us that 2020 has been a year that nobody has envisioned or thought that this is how 1st of September will look like. So I think it's very appropriate for us to come your way tonight and think about what motivation is. And two things that I picked up from motivation is, as Connie has said, it's within. So it's something that is coming from you. And sometimes our environment also makes us or helps us to do things. So there is drive and there is direction. So you get a drive, which is from within, and you have a sense of direction where you want to go. And it also calls for energy. Motivation is the energy to make a change. Make a change of a situation that you are in that you are not satisfied with. And these are some of the things that we want you to kind of note it as we go along. So the drive, a sense of direction, and wanting a change from something which you are not satisfied with. And I want to believe that there are many things, biologically, emotionally, psychologically, physiologically, that we need to be motivated to change.
Yeah.
That we are not satisfied with. Some of us, we are developing like, large arms. So we have to be motivated to exercise and change it.
Yeah. I suppose
so.
Yeah, sorry, finish.
Come in.
I was, from what you're saying, it sounds like so motivation is the why or the drive behind human action. So it's the why behind your actions. So what is behind your actions? So I asked earlier, if you got out of bed today, what was the drive? What was the why behind why you got out of bed? Was it because you want to go to work and make money, or you want to study and improve maybe your future, or because the sun was out and it made you happy? Or what was your why behind getting out of bed? What was your why behind doing any of the things you've done today? And that's what we want to kind of discuss and find out why we have the why and how to healthily engage with it, how to healthily improve it, and how to healthily help each and every one of us, during these difficult times we find ourselves in.
Right. So the essence of motivation is energized and persistent goal-directed behavior. So whenever we are motivated, we move and take action.
You take action, yeah.
So if you've not taken any action today, if you've not moved today, that means somebody is lacking motivation. And when you are lacking motivation, that direct to another thing that we've talked about before. When people are depressed, when people are low in mood, they lack motivation. So how has your day been? Have you moved and taken action today?
And I suppose sometimes if you haven't, I want to ask, if you haven't moved or taken any action today, what's your why behind that? It means you are, in a way, one way or the other, you are motivated to not take action. So what are the reasons behind being motivated to take any action? Because we've learned so far that it's a human you know, it's a human nature to want to be motivated. It's part of our kind of our being. So if you haven't moved out of bed today, I would want to know why. Not in a negative way, but that's what tonight's about. What motivates you to stay in bed the whole day? And we want to discuss that. We're talking about mental health, so we want to help each other and find out why that is, if there's anything that can be done.
Yeah. Or what stopped you from going for that walk that you had planned all day? What stopped you this evening? Because one of the things that influence motivation is satisfaction of needs that are either necessary for sustaining life or essential for well-being and growth.
Yeah.
So we are thinking about things that are necessary to sustain our lives, things that are essential for our well-being and growth. So if it's a walk, if it's food, if it's work, they are all essential. They are all for our well-being. So motivation is quite broad, and we are still on what it is. And we want to grasp this so that it becomes all our thing. And I think we all need it. Sometimes you wake up and you feel you have no energy to do anything. You don't feel like it.
So I have here, when I was doing my reading, one of the articles was talking about motivation having 3 components. So 3 components that add up to make up motivation.
Right.
And the first component is activation. So, you know, to be motivated, there needs to be activation. And the activation basically means your decision to initiate a behavior. So you make that decision to initiate a behavior. So, for example, I can make the decision to enroll on a course, I don't know, a maths course. So that's my activation. I've made that decision to go and enroll on that course. And then the next component of motivation is intensity. So intensity basically talks about the concentration and kind of energy that goes into pursuing that goal. So, for example, after I enrolled on that maths course, I make a conscious decision to engage in any discussion groups, any extra classes, maybe staying up late to get some work done, to do more reading, go to group works, do extra study classes. So that's the intensity that I'm putting into achieving or pursuing that goal. And then the third component is the persistent. So the persistent is basically talking about your continued effort toward the goal, even though obstacles may come your way. So this persistence requires an investment in your time, energy, and resources. So, for example, after I enrolled on that maths course and I'm putting all the effort into going to extra classes to get the best grades, I want to be persistent with it, and I want to push myself a bit further, maybe move myself from a HND to a BSc, for example. So I kind of adapt, and I add energy, I add resources, I add time into that goal and modeling that goal to suit what I'm trying to achieve. So sometimes a lot of us can have the activation component where we make a decision to enroll on the course, right? And then the problem is when we need to be consistent with our intensity and our persistence. That's where the problem comes in, whereby somebody makes a decision to enroll, they go and enroll, and then the intensity of them engaging with their goal, or the intensity of them being persistent with their resources and their time into that goal kind of diminishes over time if you're not careful. Sometimes it's easy to start, but sustaining it
Yeah. So maybe, Connie, we can stay with the initial bit for now, and think about the internal motives of whatever you want to start with, whatever you want to do, enrolling on the course. So there are things that you need to look at, in terms of what you will need to help keep you going.
On the course, yeah.
Yeah, because at the activation stage, you need to look at your internal resources, why you want to enroll on that course. Do you have what it takes? If you don't have it, what are you going to do? Else you can move. When you get to the intensity stage, you relapse. You will give up. You throw your hands in despair. So are you emotionally ready? Cognitively, are you ready for what you want to study? Or that job that you are desperately looking for? How prepared are you for what you want? What is the need that you want to fulfill? And I think that will sustain the motivation that you are cultivating. So it's very important that sometimes there are things that work against us in as much as we are motivated, or we are willing to make changes to our lives. But there are some external factors that also work against us. So I think in as much as you are very enthusiastic about what you are prepared to do, sometimes there are external factors or internal factors that work against you.
Yeah, that's true. And I suppose that that relates to the types of motivation that we have, So does your motivation come from an intrinsic part, as in does it come from within you, whereby you are engaging with that thing or that goal purely because you want to, purely because you genuinely find an enjoyment in it, purely because it kind of helps you to feel good. So intrinsic motivation, the goal is not to necessarily do something that pleases others or shows what you've done. It's mainly for like kind of personal gain and personal satisfaction. That's intrinsic motivation. So for example, maybe you may read a book that you really enjoy. You really love that book. That's why you read it. So it's an internal motivation to read that book. And after reading that book, you didn't necessarily change the world in that moment of reading that book, but you internally satisfied your need, for yourself. And then we have the extrinsic motivation, which is motivation that comes from outside you. So are you motivated by things around you? Like, are you motivated by the fact that you might make more money? Are you motivated by the fact that you might get a reward, or you might get trophy, or you might get promotion, higher social status or something? Is that your motivation for doing things? And we want to ask ourselves tonight, are we motivated by things around us, outside ourselves, or are we motivated by things coming from within ourselves? And I think sometimes there can be an overlap between the two. Would you agree?
Between the internal and the external bit?
Yeah, like an overlap.
I think so. I think in whichever way it comes, there's still a reward. And whether it's coming from within or without, there is still a reward, and that is the end goal, or you want to make a change and you feel satisfied. So there is satisfaction from either end. So if you gain a trophy or a promotion and you don't feel satisfied, I don't think you are motivated. And I think there are times in our lives, there are certain things that come our way and we are still not happy with it. It's not good enough for us. So yeah, it does overlap.
Okay.
But again, there are differences.
Yeah.
There are differences. Yeah.
That's true.
One of the things I was thinking about, still at the activation stage, we want to be motivated. And that is what all of us want to do and keep doing.
Yeah.
But there is this question here. What is the greatest thief, or who is the greatest thief in this world? Anybody knows? If you know, you can raise your hand.
Yeah. Right in the chat box.
Yeah.
On
Who
Zoom.
is the greatest thief in the world against mankind?
It's an interesting question. Yeah. Anyone? Any of our listeners, viewers?
Okay. If you don't know, I'm going to tell you.
I think somebody's written here procrastination. The DJ says procrastination.
Well done. Whoever said it, well done. So the greatest thief that the world has ever produced is procrastination. And he is still at large.
Causing havoc.
Still at large. So at the activation stage, where we are aiming and wishing and willing to make changes, there is procrastination that can also come our way and affect us in diverse ways.
In activating it. So you might say, I'll enroll next week, or I'll enroll next week, or I'll enroll next week.
So I remember
that activation
when I was
doesn't actually materialize.
Yeah. So procrastination is the thief of time. Have you heard that before?
No, but that's good.
I'm teaching you.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's true.
Yeah.
That's very good.
So we all need motivation, but we need to be aware what are some of the things that can cause us not to stay activated about being motivated.
So that making that decision to initiate the behavior to go and actually enroll in the course will need to be made from a place of genuine interest, from a place of genuine wanting to take the action, and then go on to maybe enroll or go on to sign up to that thing or apply for that job, or what do you call it? Go for that work or something like that. It needs to be activated. Yeah. That's true. So I think
your mental well-being.
Yeah. What's your motivation behind that? Because I think sometimes we talk a lot about physical well-being a lot, making sure you're not eating too much oil or too much fat, or you being inactive and things like that. We talk about looking after your physical health, really well, which is very, very good. But we also need to remember that your mental well-being is equally important. And what's your motivation for looking after your physical health? Do you have any genuine motivation to look after your physical health? And if the answer is yes, as you do it, it will have a knock-on effect on your mental well-being in a positive way, whereby it makes you feel good, brings you confidence, make you feel like you are focused and you are achieving something in your life.
Right. And I think another thing that also affects activation stage is avoidance. when we choose to avoid things,
Yeah.
when we choose to avoid actions, because we are thinking about being influenced by satisfaction, moving and taking action.
Mm-hmm.
But many a times, for whatever reason, we try to avoid things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we take shortcuts.
Yeah.
Which
And it's
doesn't help motivation to keep going.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
So
to
I hope
sustain it doesn't help.
mm-hmm. So I hope we've kind of understood what motivation is.
I hope so. I know some people just joined us
Mm-hmm.
on the Zoom, and if you're listening to us on the radio tonight, we are talking about motivation. And so far, we've learned that one, motivation is a human nature. It's part of our human nature because we need it for our biological, our psychological, and emotional survival. We've also learned that there are three components to motivation. We have the activation stage, whereby you make the conscious decision to get a behavior going. And then the second one is the intensity, whereby how much of an effort are you putting into pursuing that goal. And then the third one is persistent. How much resource, time, and energy are you putting into that that goal, or are you adapting or improving that goal? And that's what we are looking at. And we've also said that motivation can be intrinsic, whereby it means it can come from within you, where you want to genuinely achieve something for you, not necessarily for the greater good, or it can be extrinsic, whereby it's influenced by the outside environment, like rewards or promotion or raising salary or something like that. So we are all motivated either intrinsically or extrinsically or both. And we encourage each and every one of us to examine ourselves. Is your motivation coming from an intrinsic place, as in within you, or is it coming from an outside place where rewards are your kind of main focus? And if whichever one the case is, we want you to ask yourself why, and is it healthy, whichever one you're engaging in.
Right. Another thing I have here that I think it's very interesting for our listeners to hear is the behavior aspect of motivation. The behavior aspect of motivation. So how does motivation behave? How does it behave? Right.
What does it look like?
So with presence, intensity, and quality, that is how motivation tries to behave. Okay. You see that there is presence,
okay,
there is intensity, and there is quality. So we are not just talking about anything, but whatever you are thinking about, whatever you have envisioned to engage in and bring out, it's present. There is intensity. You're doing it. You're working on it. You're making the change. And there is quality. It comes out and it's good. It's beautiful. So motivation is visible through gestures and facial expressions. So when you are motivated, it's seen in your face. We like what we are doing, so you can see on our face. Yeah. We are motivated.
Yeah. I wonder why we come every Tuesday. What's our motivation? We've learned that tonight.
You know, so you see that from our faces. We don't come in here grumpy. I think one of the videos, I sat there and I looked up to my friend. I thought, this girl is not a happy bunny. So the intense effort and immediacy of whatever you are doing is, you know, is the behavior that comes with motivation. So if you are motivated, you just don't talk about it. It's seen. It's seen in your body, it's seen in your facial expression, it's seen in the quality, and that is where the satisfaction comes in.
Okay.
And for the behavior of motivation to be seen, I think we've mentioned this already, that there has to be persistency. There has to be persistent. And I think I've reserved one quote for last, and I will tell you about it. Yeah, so there has to be persistent. If you did it yesterday, you do it again today. It's a daily thing.
Yeah.
So you have to be persistent about it and decisive in choosing one goal over the other. So you have many options. And I think one of the times I was thinking about, you need to have a scale of preference.
Okay.
So there are many things that maybe you will want to do, but you need to draw a scale of preference and bring what you need or what is most important to you on top. So you get the energy to do it, you see the reward, and you are happy or satisfied with it. Right.
Yeah. I think what I was going to also add is that if you're listening to us, I know one of the questions I asked at the start was, if you got out of bed today, what made you get out of bed? And if you didn't, what made you not get out of bed? And why are you still in bed at the moment listening to us? So that brings about the fact also that, and I'm sure you probably found this in your research, whereby it says that motivation can go up and down. It's fluctuating. So sometimes, depending on what day you're having, the intensity might go down, or depending on what day you're having, it might influence your activation to get a thing done, or depending on how your day is going might influence the intensity of how you engage with your motivation or not. But the main point here is that you don't lose the vision of your goal. You don't lose sight of your goal. In that, the thing that you're trying to achieve, so that tomorrow you pick it back up and you continue. So we're not saying that we are all perfect, where we all have to be motivated every day 24/7. We're saying that have the understanding and the kindness that sometimes you can go up and down in it, but don't lose focus of your goal. And that's very, very important, so that when you pick yourself back up, you can get back on track. And that's what I also wanted to add.
Yeah. Lady J put, I think she was trying to answer why someone will be in bed all day, and she put it beautifully. Feeling of tiredness, not physically, but mentally, and usually loss of interest in any activity. That is mostly why I will stay in bed all day. And I think that links beautifully to what I was talking about. When we lack motivation, when we don't have the mental strength to get up and do anything, it's a sign of us feeling depressed or low in mood, as we will put it, because we will not want to diagnose clinical depression here. But it's a sign of feeling low for whatever thing that your mind is filled up with. And I think in one of our programs, we dealt extensively with what depression is and how it comes about. So being motivated is a sign of you being on top of all the stresses in life around you and the many things that you think about. So sometimes when we are overwhelmed with our thoughts, it stops us from engaging in the very things that gives us the drive to make any change, any positive change in our situations, in our lives. And that is why tonight we are bringing the subject of motivation on board, that this is something that we can all grasp and work with it. We need it. It helps. It keeps us going rather than folding our arms, allowing procrastination to take over the better side of us, and also avoiding things that we find challenging. So you need to be motivated to keep going.
Yeah, certainly. And that answers, the question of the fact that motivation is good. It's good for our mental health. It helps us, give us a sense of purpose and a sense of goal setting, or a sense of being focused in our life one way or the other. And motivation is as I said earlier, it's part of our human nature. So for example, we are motivated to eat because it's a biological need to satisfy our hunger, our thirst, what do you call it? Our nutrition, meet our nutritional needs. So some of our motivation can come from biological, needing to eat or feed ourselves physically, add nutrition to our body. And it can also be from a place of instinct. So some of the psychological theories were saying that sometimes we are motivated because it's part of our human instinct. So for example, something like fear, it's argued that it's a human instinct. So if you become fearful, you are motivated to maybe run or to fight or flight. The motivation comes and your body reacts physically, and adrenaline flows, and you either run or you fight. So motivation can be a human instinct thing. It can be a biological need aspect, and it can also be an arousal level aspect, which I thought was interesting. So arousal level basically talks about some people are motivated by low level arousal. So that means they like calm, they like relaxing, they like very chilled way of living. They like reading books, listening to calm music. I don't know, maybe sleeping or
they don't want to hurt a fly.
Yeah, very calm and very relaxed life.
Very calm like me.
Somebody like that will probably read a book and they are fine. And then we have the high arousal need people, and they go seeking thrills, they go seeking exciting things that get the blood pumping. So they may go like racing or motorcycling or bungee jumping. And sometimes whether you are high arousal or low arousal need, it motivates you to seek activities in these whichever areas that applies to you. And that can be one way of one of the drives to for our life.
Yeah, and I think for you to be motivated, you should have reasons for doing what you are doing. So like we've talked about, either it's a biological reason or a human reason or a psychological reason. This will give you the energy to keep going.
Yeah.
So for instance, if we are thinking about exercise, right? And over the period, I think any subject we bring to you, one of the things we will talk about, oh, you have to keep being active, you have to exercise, you have to exercise. So what are your reasons? What are your reasons for exercising? Is it for fun? Is it for personal challenge? Is it for you to accomplish a goal? Is it for health reasons? Is it for inspiration or a pursuit of a standard of excellence? So whatever the reason is, that will create a motivation at a level.
Yeah.
So we have levels of motivation. If it's just for a fun, you know, it's more within. Yeah, it's more within. It's quite intrinsic. If it's more for you to for health benefits, you place a value on it because this is your life. Maybe you've gone to your GP and your GP is talking to you. You've gone to your doctor. Your doctor is saying to you, my friend, you need to lose weight. You need to do this. You need to do that for the sake of your heart. So you place value on it, and that energizes you to do something. To do something about either your weight or, you know, your physical well-being. So it's very important what your reason is for doing whatever you are doing. If it's just satisfaction from a, you know, a job well done, you become competitive. You become competitive with it, and that can also keep you going. So whatever reason you have in what you've set your mind to do is very important. So I think for us to be motivated, we need to have a goal.
Yeah.
We need to be focused on something. And I think that tonight, that is what we are trying to put across.
Yeah. So what, as we said earlier at the start, motivation is the why behind your human action, as you've explained, the why behind it. What's your reason for engaging in any human action or any human behavior? And that's what we are trying to encourage you to think about tonight, so that it helps you to be able to know yourself better. It helps you to be able to know how to engage and adapt your behaviors and your goal and the things you're trying to achieve in life. And having an understanding of what motivates you helps keep you a bit grounded, so that you, when the wind blows anyway, you don't go wherever the wind blows. You have a bit of focus in staying in your lane in a way. You don't go just gone with the wind. You don't do that, because then you end up confused. You end up not satisfied with life. You end up with potentially mental health problems, because you feel there are things amiss in your life in terms of being motivated and staying motivated and staying satisfied with whatever you have in your life.
Yeah, I will want to talk about like 2 important reasons why we should be motivated.
Yeah.
The first one is it gives us overall higher well-being, sense of well-being. And that is what we are trying to link with our mental well-being.
Yeah.
When we stay motivated, we have that sense, a higher sense, not just a sense of well-being, but a higher sense of overall well-being.
Yeah.
Because I always say that it's our mind that carries us. It's our mind that carries us. So when we stay positive in our minds and we have set goals that we are able to follow through, our sense of overall well-being is higher. It's very high.
Yeah.
The other important thing is when you are motivated, you are able to spur other people on.
Yeah.
So it becomes very infectious. It becomes very infectious. So these are the two important things I want us to bear in mind. Your overall sense of well-being and how a motivated person is able to spur others on. You know, there are some people, when you go around them, it's like they infect you with their sense of low arousal.
They don't
and you
motivate you. They
end up,
don't encourage you.
and you don't do anything. I think last Sunday I had a visit, and this young man to a home, and this young man had done a backyard garden of herbs and vegetables, and by the time I was leaving the house, I had some organic stuff to bring home. And this is what somebody had done during COVID lockdown, planted in his garden. Use that time, the time that others might think, oh, this is unprecedented. And I coin my own word, this is too COVIDic. Yes. Somebody has been motivated to do a garden, organic garden. And I had spinach as part of my, dinner. Wow. But when you are around people who are motivated, so I came home and I'm thinking, very soon, come and visit me. You see that back of the house will be full of fruit and veg, because I was around somebody who was motivated and he spurred me on. So these are the two important reasons why motivation is good.
Yeah, thank you. I'll add good. 2 more, and then we'll take it from there. Another thing I'll add, and the two that you've mentioned are really, really good, and I hope our listeners and viewers are pondering over it. The 2 more I'll add is that, one, motivation helps us to take appropriate action in an ever-changing environment. So motivation helps you to know that, as obstacles may come, but you don't lose focus of your goal. You stay consistent with your goal. You learn to adapt it. You learn to tweak it a bit, but that doesn't mean that you learn to abandon it, which can be problematic. And then the other one is that motivation helps us to be productive with our time, with our energy, with our effort and everything. It helps us live a productive life, because if you are not motivated, your focus and your functioning is affected, and your productivity is also affected. So motivation is important for these things, which are all part of human living and part of being able to live a satisfying life. Yeah.
Okay. I come your way again with another quote. Don't worry about the world coming to an end.
Okay.
It is already tomorrow in Australia.
So you're worried about tonight.
If you are in UK and you think the world is coming to an end, Australia is already tomorrow.
Yeah.
So the world is not ending yet.
Yeah.
They've just started their new day. Right.
That's true. Thank you so much. If you're listening to us on the radio, COP Scotland Radio, or you're watching us on Zoom, thank you tonight for joining us and staying with us. We've been discussing motivation and what motivation is, and we've learned a lot tonight. I hope you've also learned something tonight from the discussion. This is just the beginning. We want to delve more into what ways of staying motivated, how to improve our motivation, and how to deal with lack of motivation. And that will be part of our second session that we'll have next week. So don't go anywhere. Next week, you need to join us same time, 8 o'clock on Zoom, on COP Scotland Radio, on the Facebook COP Church of Pentecost Scotland Facebook, and let us learn more about motivation and how to improve it, how to deal with lack of it, and how to be practical about it. Because tonight we've learned that it's part of our human need to be motivated. It's a survival thing that helps us. So we'll come your way next week with the same topic and go forward with it and learn more about it.
Yeah, and I think in this period, in this COVID, in this pandemic, where we don't know what is going to happen tomorrow, what the law will come up with, what the governments are doing, we have to stay motivated.
Yeah.
It's very important. I've got two quotes to bring in before we go, Connie.
Yeah.
Right. Even a stopped clock is right twice every day.
Wow,
After
a
some
stop clock is
years,
twice. Yeah.
after
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
years, it can boast of a long series of successes.
That's true. If at least minimum twice a day, it's right. So
Yeah, and after a long time, it can boast, I predicted the time this time and it was right.
yeah, that's true.
Right. And the one to take with us for tonight is people often say that motivation doesn't last. Do we agree? Do we believe it? Well, neither does bathing. That is why we recommend it daily.
Yeah. So every day we need to remotivate ourselves on a daily basis. Wow, that's
so
very
today's
good.
motivation was enough for today. We need one for tomorrow.
Yeah.
You had a bath this morning, or you're going to have one tonight. Tomorrow you will need it. So motivation doesn't last. That is why we have to do it daily. So if you've motivated yourself tonight to even come online to listen to us and share fellowship and lesson, it doesn't end here.
Yeah.
One step at a time.
Yeah, that's true. So we need to every day renew it, every day adapt it, tweak it, and keep working on it. It's not a one-hit wonder. Every day it needs to be adapted.
Else we will bath 1st of January 2020 and that will be it.
And that'll be us. No, we don't want that. We don't want that. We've got 2 comments here in the chat box on Zoom. I'll read them. Okay. We have one from, I think Irene it is. She says, having a positive mental health being is key in every facet of our lives. We all need motivation to keep going, stay focused and productive. Many thanks for this discussion. God bless you, our panel. And then a comment from Lady J saying, motivation needs constant nurturing, which is reminding ourselves why we are enthusiastic about doing or achieving something. Motivation is a continuous drive. Wow. Thank you all so much for your contribution. God bless you for that. Thank you for listening to us.
Yeah, we can leave our listeners motivated to go and sleep, and then we'll meet again next week. Same time.
Hopefully we'll all be motivated to join us on the program next week, 8 o'clock. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much, my lovely co-host, Efiasika Wiafe.
To you. Have a good night.
Bye. You too. Bye.